There are moments in life when the world becomes too loud and too familiar at the same time, when every day begins to feel like a repetition of the one before it. Same actions, same thoughts, same reactions, same roles. And it's in those moments, especially as we step deeper into the middle seasons of life, that something inside begins to whisper, there is more. You've outgrown the life you built. It's time to meet the rest of yourself. Most people ignore that whisper. But you're here, and today you're about to open a door that most will never touch. A door hidden in a deceptively simple act, writing your name with your non-dominant hand. It looks ordinary, almost childish, almost too simple to mean anything. But simplicity is deceptive, and in spirituality, the simplest acts are often the most revealing. Because this is not about handwriting, it's about identity. It's about the parts of yourself that have been silent for years. It's about waking up the half of your mind and the half of your life that you've neglected. Your dominant hand is the symbol of your first half of life self. The self that society shaped. The self that learned the rules. The self that built, achieved, performed, and survived. For years, maybe decades, you trusted this hand completely. It learned to write your name in a way the world approved of. Clean, polished, efficient, predictable. It became the hand you used to sign contracts, send messages, complete tasks, fulfill obligations, maintain the version of yourself you were told to be. This hand is what Carl Jung would call your persona, the mask you wear to navigate the world. It's not fake, it's simply incomplete. It is the part of you optimized for function, not for fullness. And for a long time, this was enough. Because the first half of life requires structure. It requires performance. It requires becoming someone the world recognizes. But the second half of life, that's a different kind of journey. A journey inward. A journey downward. A journey backward to the parts of yourself that never had a voice. And this is where the non-dominant hand enters. Not as a tool, but as a messenger. When you pick up the pen with your non-dominant hand, something subtle but profound awakens. The hand feels weak. The movements feel uncertain. The letters wobble, like a child learning to write for the first time. But the deeper truth is this. This hand belongs to the part of you that never got to grow up. The part that never got to speak. The part that holds your intuition, creativity, authenticity, and spiritual memory. Scientists say the non-dominant hand activates the hemisphere associated with imagination, emotional processing, inner truth, symbolic understanding, subconscious material, suppressed memories, intuitive intelligence. Spiritually, this is the side connected with your inner child, your soul's original blueprint, your untamed self, your wounded self, your future self, your ancestral memory. That's why the writing looks unstable. You are literally touching the parts of your psyche that never learned to perform. This hand writes with feeling, not efficiency. With instinct, not control. With vulnerability, not perfection. You're writing your name, yes, but in truth, you are reintroducing yourself to yourself. Find a quiet space, a space that feels neutral, where your mind can settle. Sit down with a pen and a blank sheet of paper. Place the pen in your dominant hand first. Write your full name. As you do, notice how automatic it feels, how your hand already knows the motion. This is the self you built, the self you perfected, the self you rehearsed. Now pause, place the pen in your non-dominant hand. Before you write anything, feel the discomfort, feel the uncertainty, feel the hesitation. Don't rush past it. These sensations are the gateway. Now write your name again, slowly, shakily, vulnerably. Let every letter wobble. Let every line break. Let it be imperfect. This is not about neatness. This is about awakening. Keep breathing slowly as you write, because with each stroke, your nervous system is doing something extraordinary. It is reconnecting two halves of your identity that have been separated for years. When you use your non-dominant hand, your brain lights up in areas that don't usually activate. Creativity increases, emotional memory surfaces, old traumas begin to loosen, suppressed intuition rises, new neural pathways form, your ego weakens, your authentic self strengthens. You're not just training your hand, you are rewiring the psychological architecture of who you are. This is why spiritual traditions often include tasks that feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar. They use unfamiliarity to bypass the ego. They use slowness to reveal the soul. And that is exactly what you are doing. This is not handwriting practice. This is self-excavation. You are retrieving lost parts of your identity. You are reconnecting with the versions of yourself you abandoned for survival. You are waking up the sleeping dimensions of your consciousness. After writing your name with your non-dominant hand, observe the letters. Don't judge, don't analyze, just observe. Now look for these signs. 1. Trembling letters. This shows where your fears sit. Fear of judgment, of failure, of vulnerability. 2. Inconsistent size. This reveals the parts of your identity that never learned confidence. 3. Overly large letters. This may indicate the inner child trying to be seen again. 4. Very small letters. This often reflects the parts of you that learn to shrink to survive. 5. Sharp angles, hidden anger, suppressed assertiveness. 6. Soft curves. Creativity, intuition, gentleness, spiritual clarity. You're not reading handwriting, you're reading your subconscious. Your name, written by your non-dominant hand, becomes a mirror, a psychological X-ray of your inner world. People think transformation comes from grand awakenings, massive breakthroughs, dramatic shifts. But sometimes transformation begins in the smallest of acts, the act of writing your name with the hand that has never held your identity before. Because when you do, your subconscious receives a message. We are ready to awaken now. We are ready to reconnect. We are ready to become whole. This simple act tells your mind that you no longer wish to live as half a person, that you are done with survival mode identity, that you are ready for deeper alignment, deeper truth, deeper authenticity. You are reminding yourself that you can still learn, you can still change, you can still rediscover, you can still expand. You can still start over. The writing is shaky, but your spirit is steady. The letters are uneven, but your awakening is symmetrical. The hand is weak, but the message is strong. This is the beginning, the doorway, the invitation. There are turning points in life that don't look dramatic from the outside. No lightning, no thunder, no revelation carved into stone, just a pen, a quiet room, and the hand you've ignored for decades. But inside you, something monumental is shifting. Because when you wrote your name with your non-dominant hand in part 1, you didn't just perform an exercise, you disturbed the old architecture of your identity. You stirred the deeper layers of your mind, the layers that don't speak in words, but in instincts, feelings, and symbolic truth. And now you're going to walk through the door you opened. This is where the awakening becomes conscious. This is where the inner work becomes transformational. This is where you learn how to use the forgotten hand to realign your life. Something profound happens when we enter the mid-stages of life. Whether you're approaching it, deep inside it, or simply feeling its pull, The external achievements that once seemed urgent begin to lose their weight. The questions become quieter but heavier. Is this truly me? Have I been living or just performing? What part of myself have I never met? The first half of life is dominated by the dominant hand, the part of you built for survival, success, and social approval. But the second half demands the opposite. It asks for softness instead of strength, presence instead of performance, truth instead of identity. And one of the most mystical, underestimated ways to activate this transition is through non-dominant handwork, because it awakens the half of your psyche that never learned to speak. When you use your dominant hand, life moves in straight lines, predictable, controlled, efficient. When you use your non-dominant hand, life becomes fluid again, curved, intuitive, uncertain, alive. You're not just reversing hands, you're reversing, yes, old neural pathways, old identity patterns, old emotional habits, old survival strategies, old spiritual limitations. This is why monks, mystics, and shamans across cultures use reversal techniques, walking slowly rather than fast, switching sitting positions, breathing through the opposite nostril, writing with the opposite hand. These actions confuse the ego. And when the ego is confused, the soul can speak. This step is powerful. Do it slowly and do it with reverence. How to begin? Take your journal or a notebook you don't use for anything external. Place the pen in your non-dominant hand. Now write the following sentence. What part of me needs attention? It will look messy. It will look unprofessional. It will look like a child wrote it. This is good. This is exactly what we want. Now sit for 1 minute in silence, then switch hands, return to your dominant hand, and write whatever answer rises in your chest. This creates a bridge between your intuitive mind and your conscious mind. The two halves of your inner world begin to speak to each other. Repeat daily for 7 days. Over time, the answers will change. The voice inside will mature. Clarity will sharpen. Old wounds will rise for healing. You may even meet forgotten versions of yourself. This is not a journal. This is a dialogue with your deeper self. Now that you've written your current name, it's time to write the name of someone you lost, your younger self. Take the pen with your non-dominant hand and write the name you were called when you were a child. Whatever name people used before life became complicated. It may be your first name, a nickname, a shortened version. Anything that feels like it belonged to the innocent version of you. When you write it, something powerful happens. Old emotional memory lights up. Your nervous system relaxes. Defenses soften. The walls around your heart loosen. This is your inner child showing up, not metaphorically, neurologically. Now switch to your dominant hand and write a short sentence to that child. I didn't forget you. This act alone can unlock years of suppressed emotion. Next, take your non-dominant hand and write a new name. Not legally, not officially, but symbolically. Write a name, word, or phrase that represents the future you, the one emerging from your awakening. Examples: peaceful one, the reborn, the aligned me, the whole self, the true name. This activates the intuitive part of you, responsible for destiny, vision, and long-term transformation. Then switch to your dominant hand and write, I am ready to become this. This is an identity activation ritual, a psychological and spiritual binding. You are giving your subconscious a destination to move toward. The ego speaks in perfection. The soul speaks in trembles. The dominant hand writes the life society demanded. The non-dominant hand writes the life your spirit desires. When you sit with both hands, you're sitting with both selves. The self that learned pace and the self that never had a chance. And when they finally meet, your inner life begins to realign. You feel more emotionally open, more spiritually sensitive, more intuitive, more courageous, more honest with yourself, less afraid of change, less attached to old identities, more connected to meaning. Because at the deepest level, this work is not about handwriting, it is about wholeness. Choose one belief that has held you back. I'm not enough. I'm too late. I can't change. I don't deserve good things. Write it with your non-dominant hand. It will feel strange, powerless, shaky. Then switch hands and write the opposite truth. This rewrites the belief in your nervous system. You are literally unlearning the old pattern and forming a new one. This is the culmination of all the steps. Take your non-dominant hand and write, I am becoming whole. Then sign your name below it, your real name, with your dominant hand. This is the merging, the integration, the moment your inner child, your present self, and your emerging future self stand in one place, in one signature, on one page. You are not erasing who you were. You are expanding into who you are meant to be. You started with a simple act, writing your name with the hand you never trusted. But what you unlocked is far greater. Intuition, creativity, emotional memory, suppressed authenticity, hidden potential, spiritual clarity, new neural pathways, identity transformation. This is what happens when you speak to the parts of yourself that have waited in silence. The dominant hand builds the world outside you. The non-dominant hand rebuilds the world inside you. And now, both hands know your name. Both hands know your truth. Both hands will shape the rest of your life.